looks like we've got some folks on. So we're going to start today with Jasmine from Klatskanai Farmer Collective now. It's been a couple of different things and learn a little bit about what all Jasmine's doing out in Klatskanai, because every time I like that you're laughing. Every time I talk to you, it's something different. But I'm really excited to hear what's happening now. It's been a couple of years since you've been working on this and you've come a really long way. But I'm going to stop for 1 second and say, hi, Rose. I understand you're the new executive director of Klamath Grown. Welcome to this group.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Alex and Sarah and Delaney have told me a lot of great things, so I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to see you, and I'm glad to see that Klamath Grown finally has a fearless leader in place again, and this is really exciting. So welcome. All right, Jasmine, take it away.
Oh boy, it looks like we're a small group. That's good for me. All right, so I have a presentation. Let me see if I can do this. It's been a minute. I can share my screen, right? Sydney, is that?
I hope so. Tanya, she set up for that.
Yeah, you were sharing earlier. You're good to go.
Yeah, I practiced a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so, well, let me move this so that I can, oh, whoops, here we go. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Jasmine. I've been a member of this group for a few years now, and it's just one of my favorite groups that I've ever been a part of. A depth of and well of knowledge. I've learned so much, and everything that you'll see here that I've been working on has been shaped by the information from these members in this group. So it's an honor to get to tell you what I've been up to today. So I'm the executive director of the Klatskanai Farmer Collective. I'm just going to give a brief history of our organization, because I think it's just important to see how that how the food hub came to be out of that, and then just tell you how our food hub's working currently, what we're up to, and our vision for the coming years. This is a picture of one of our farm-to-table dinners. We rotate to a different farm every summer. And this is our only licensed egg producer in Columbia County, us having a dinner of 60 people out here, 100% farm local ingredients besides the olive oil and the lemon juice. We got to work on that. And so Klatskanai is a little community, so about 1,700 people between Portland and Astoria along Highway 30. My family's been here for 5 generations. So that gives you some background. My roots run really deep. It used to have a really strong agricultural presence, and now we're bringing that back. That's the Klatskanai Farmer Collective's work, is to rebuild that food system that once was. And so the history of the CFC, we weren't always the Klatskanai Farmer Collective. We started as just a farmer's market founded in 2014. I wasn't here then, but it was founded by a group of just dedicated individuals, vendors, farmers, like most farmers markets are started. They got their 501c3 status in 2015, a year later. That's to further their funding options, and then they incorporated an educational mission. They were able to get some big USDA funding, and it was a little farmers market, 8 to 10 vendors sitting on the grass in the park, and it's grown steadily since then. But then COVID hit, and we made it through, but that's when my husband Brandon and I entered the scene. We were down in Ashland in the Rogue Valley doing food system work down there, very embedded in our community, and the droughts and the fires persisted and increased, and then COVID, and we found ourselves in a situation where we didn't have farmland, and we decided we needed to go to Klatskanai, back to my hometown, and we inherited some land from my grandpa, started farming. The second that we landed in April of 2020, built a commercial kitchen on our property with advice from Barb Kripe with the ODA, and started vending at the farmers market. Of course, we had lots of energy, so the board recruited us to take leadership roles and and take over the farmers market, and that's what we did. We poured our heart and soul into revitalizing and getting us through COVID. And we saw the results of that work in the summer of 2022. We had a significant increase in vendors, customers, and sales that year. Throughout the pandemic, we had been scheming about the Clatskanie Food Hub, and we, reached out to all of the similar organizations that could offer their advice and support, found the Oregon Community Food System Network, and started shaping the vision for the Clatskanie Food Hub. Because we were board members of this farmers market, we decided that the food hub would be best fit under this nonprofit status and this nonprofit model. And that is really an important piece of how the food hub came to be so quickly. We were able to get grant funding and open our doors in June of 2023. And then in 2024, we decided to rebrand the organization as the Clatskanie Farmer Collective to encompass all of the work that we are now doing beyond our farmers market. So with that rebrand, we updated our mission to cultivating a resilient local agricultural system by increasing market opportunities, community engagement, and producer support. So here we are, here's the core team, our board members and our staff at the farmers market. And these are the three pillars of our organization: our market opportunities, community engagement, producer support. I won't get into all of the work that we do. We're going to focus on the food hub, but I just want to say that all of these things we do are very synergistic. They all have overlap. They all benefit each other. And for example, the farmers market has flourished since the placement of the food hub and the development of the food hub. The food hub's kind of a stepping stone for vendors to test the market, test their products in a low risk way. And then you see them joining the farmers market for the big festival days and connecting with their customers in that space. So here is the town of Clatskanie in one picture. A tiny little postage stamp, but I just wanted to show you just how close everything is, and how it really is a really tight-knit system that we have. The Clatskanie Farmers Market's in that grassy nook, the oxbow of the Clatskanie River. It's wonderful to have a market on grass for the cooling effect, and our visitors just love it. Right across the street from that is the Clatskanie Food Hub, and then across the street from that, we have our community garden and our annex space. Our annex right now is being used for various storage needs for the market and the food hub, but will soon be transformed into an artisan craft year-round market and an extension of our classroom so that we can have classes while the food hub is open, and not interfere with those sales, because grocery purchases are loud. There's a lot of movement. So we're a farmer, food producer, and women-led organization. We have 3 part-time staff, 6 board members, 5 year-round volunteers, 6 to 8 seasonal volunteers. And this really doesn't capture all of it, but this is what I account for, and that totals to about 4 full-time employees. And that is how we're managing. That's for the entire organization, so all of our programs. But there are helpers that really aren't accounted for in this as well. So the Clatskanie Food Hub, here's a fun little photo shoot that I made my friends pretend to grocery shop. It was probably the funniest photo shoot that's ever happened. I don't know if you've had one of those, but really funny. People do weird things with celery when they're not actually buying it. So this is a little window. This is like half of our store that you see here. It's about 20 to 20 feet, square foot. It's a postage stamp of a store that we're facilitating all of these retail and wholesale sales in. But yeah, so just wanted to give a little picture. This is just a typical retail grocery, but we're 100% local food and producers. So how it came to be, we identified the needs. So Brandon, my husband, and I are farmers and food producers ourselves, and we were realizing, wow, we're going to have to leave our community and participate in Astoria or Portland markets if we don't provide some another market opportunity year round for our business, as well as all the other makers and food producers. We do have a Safeway in Clatskanie. We have gas stations. We have our farmers market that's 4 months out of the year, 1 day a week. But that's certainly not a local food system. And so we knew we needed something more. We put a survey out to our community on Facebook and got just a ton of response. And so our community really helped shape what I'm going to tell you about and how the Food Hub runs and has been built. We also reached out to the North Coast Food Web and Food Roots, similar organizations that were doing this work. They freely shared resources with us. They answered all of our stupid questions. We reached out to the Oregon Community Food System Network in Sydney, and she took the red pen to our budget and was really nice throughout the whole process, but definitely taught us some hard to learn lessons, and was a real asset in building this vision as well. We did a community, we did a fundraiser, initial capital fundraiser, and the Oregon Coast Visitors Association matched those donations for us, and that bought us all of our initial refrigeration and equipment. We obviously wrote some grants as well, and then just an immeasurable amount of in-kind support in the form of labor and materials to get this off the ground. And so here's an infographic that we just made. This is all familiar to you all, but to help our community understand how the Food Hub works and cuts out the middleman. But I just also want to say like that I knew that we were going to be selling local food, right? But that because this is a retail space and it's open year round and multiple days a week, the connections that happen in that tiny little room and the friendships that are made and the relationships that are built and the interactions with our knowledgeable staff, the gleaning opportunities that are presented for people, the on the hoof sales that aren't ran through our point of sale system, but that farmers are getting, those sales from custom slaughter facilities, like all of that happened too. And I can't, some of it's not even measurable, but it was more than expected than just the sales of food. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all of that community building that happens in spaces like this. So an extension of the farmers market, that's also how we sold it to our community. An easy way for them to think of a food hub. And, in retrospect, we're not a food hub, we're actually a farm stop. I didn't know that, but we're doing food hubbing because we also facilitate some institutional sales and do some aggregating as well. So these are our hours of operation. They have doubled since we opened in June of 2023. Here's some more pictures of the retail space as well from that fun photo shoot. And we are planning on further expanding our hours of operation this year, which is exciting. So our model, we're a nonprofit year-round local food marketplace, first and foremost. We also have some bigger wholesale accounts with the school, the monastery, and some restaurants. Second, we have classroom space in the Food Hub. And then we do pop-ups and special events as well. So the classroom is really cool because we'll do a food preservation class series, and then all of a sudden those graduates from that series are buying big boxes of cucumbers and tomatoes, and it drives the sales of whatever they're learning in the classroom. The producers can also teach classes in the classroom and sell their products during those classes. Pop-ups, that's if the producers want that direct connection to the customers. So we have space in the retail, on the retail floor to have producers come in and do special promotions of their events. And this was really important when the farm direct products and the bakery products, the producers needed to be in store. We do special events as well. We host those farm-to-table dinners and concerts and documentary movie screenings, all the while cooking and preparing ready-to-eat foods with local ingredients for people to experience. And we find that when we're incorporating those local ingredients into prepared meals, people are more likely to come shop from the food hub and buy those ingredients. So the nitty gritty of how it works, we only have producers within a 100-mile radius of Clatskanie. We're thinking of expanding that potentially to incorporate Camas Country Mill and get some flowers in the shop. We have 76 producers right now. We started with 30, so steady growth in that department. We are a retail establishment. We're licensed with the ODA as a retail establishment. We run, most of our vendors are on a consignment model. So they are receiving 80% of the sales and we get 20% to help with our operating costs. In retrospect, that's not quite enough. We should have done 70-30. But I'll talk about how we're kind of adapting later on. And then, you know, some of those producers, that's a risk for them to be on a consignment with perishable goods in a retail space. And so how can we minimize food waste? My food business and my commercial kitchen have been looking at what is going to go to waste at the end of the week, purchasing it from farmers at wholesale, and then incorporating it into value-added products for our business. With the addition of the kitchen that we're building in the food hub, now the food hub will be able to do that and minimize the food waste for the producers. We also have some wholesale accounts in the food hub. So some producers just prefer for us to buy their products and then mark them up 50% and sell them. We have to do this for our alcohol producers. And beer and wine sales definitely help keep the lights on. And we have our off-premise sales license through the OLCC. So seasonal and small quantities welcome. So this means that we don't have any contracts. We're not like telling one producer, you're producing carrots for us for the season, you're doing lettuce. We are asking our producers what they have every single week. They're sending us a list, and every week we're piecing who we're getting what from. And we put in those orders, and then the food shows up at the food hub on Thursday morning. We stage the entire retail space with new signage, new pricing, make sure our point of sale's up to speed. We also do vendor identifiers for the product. And so we're staging all that on Thursday, and then we're open for the week, Thursday through Sunday. We do a lot of consumer education within the retail space, so different charts and graphs and infographics to educate our customers about local food and seasonal eating, who the farmers are that we're working with, how they're practicing, all of that. And so it's kind of a learning environment. That's what we like to cultivate. And then we're doing a lot of marketing for the producers as well. We also run special promotions for them, so different discounts that are taken out of our 20% to help drive their, like we're doing a holiday campaign, keep it local campaign, things like that. We manage all the food assistance currencies right now. That's SNAP, EBT, Farm Direct Nutrition Program checks, and we're getting signed up for Double Up Food Bucks as well. And we handle all the credit card processing fees for the producers. We do aggregation. So we have two aggregating points. Sometimes food routes down in Tillamook too, but that's not as consistent because we're not sourcing as many products from down there. So we have one at the North Coast Food Web in Astoria. So all the producers that are closer there, they bring their products to North Coast Food Web and we pick up every week. And then we have one point in Warren, Oregon, that's about 30 miles the opposite direction. And that was actually a farmer who had an extra space in her walk-in and allows other farmers to aggregate, and some great, relationships have been made through this process like that, farmers coming together to help each other. And that distribution route is all volunteer led with our own vehicles. So yeah, all the product comes in on Wednesdays and Thursdays to the food hub. The producers own their products and set the price unless we need to intervene. Sometimes we do. We ask that they supply a specific, keep this is sufficient supply for consumer demand, but we're working with micro and small producers, and you all know that, I'm sure. So we just try to coach them and try to help them to achieve that. The vendors are paid monthly by Square check. Square point of sale system is, I could do a whole master class on that. It's terrible. We're switching over to Retail Edge, so I'm happy to answer any questions about that in a sec. So here's a floor plan that I put together because I thought this group would like to see, yeah, just kind of our flow. This is not to scale at all, but if you can imagine, the storefront is about 20 by 20 feet. Really like the flow of receiving into the dry food and storage area, and then the walk-in going into the storefront. We will be expanding our retail space into the classroom and venue, so we'll have a front of the building entrance to our store, which will be great in the coming year, and then our kitchen will be integrated to that as well. So then our partnerships, Sydney just wanted me to touch on how we have cultivated these partnerships and how they have contributed to our success. And like I mentioned, our sister organizations, the North Coast Food Web and Food Roots, and them freely sharing their information. The Oregon Community Food System Network, I've already talked about how beneficial this whole body of businesses and organizations have been, and just a space to consistently go to get feedback and to see what everybody else is doing and adapt their new ideas to this work. The Columbia Economic Team, our local economic team, has been really helpful in providing matching funds for grants in creative ways. The Small Business Development Center is also a part of our economic team, and they've actually been able to partner with us, and I'm employed as an advisor so that I can use their more stable funding to help food businesses in things like simple tax services, business, like simple tax forms that I wouldn't have the insurance to help them with otherwise, business plan development, marketing, just growing their business and getting it to a more stable spot. And that the Clatskanie Farmer Collective would not have the funding or the capacity to do that. An interesting partnership that we've had is with the local naturopath and referring his patients constantly to us. It's a big source of our customers. And he allowed us to have a plot of his land to start our community garden on, that we then are now a primary producer, meaning like we're a farmer, because we're selling some of that produce in the food hub. And so we are able to accept FDNP checks. We're able to get signed up as a farm stand through the Double Up Food Bucks program. So just those creative ways of increasing your services through local partnerships, we found to be really beneficial. The Chamber of Commerce we work with, because we need tourists to want to come to downtown Clatskanie, so we often participate in different Travel Oregon grants to update facades and planter boxes and garbage cans and lighting, all that stuff that would make Clatskanie a more desirable place to visit. The city of Clatskanie allows us to hold a blanket business license so that all of the businesses that participate in our market opportunities don't have to have a business license. So that's a $60 a year fee, which when you're dealing with really small micro businesses could be a deal breaker. So that was a cool kind of handout that the city's given us. And then the Clatskanie School District and the Great Vow Zen Monastery have been our primary institutions, wholesale accounts that we have partnered with to help their local food funds grow. And so we've helped them get grant funding. They've helped us get grant funding. It's been a really great partnership, and that has helped grow their local food budget. There's so many more partnerships, but those are just some examples of some creative ones that I picked out. So vision for the future, we are building our licensed food processing establishment, which is our commercial kitchen in the food hub, thanks to funding from the OCFSN and the ODA. This is to capture that food waste, produce waste coming out of the kitchen, transform it into value-added products, and increase our product diversity in the retail space. So like dried mushrooms in bulk, right? Value-added tomato sauce, canned tomato sauce, and focusing on products that other producers aren't producing yet because of the lack of infrastructure that they have. We are not going to be big enough to run a commissary kitchen. So we have really thought about how we can still benefit producers with this kitchen facility by capturing food waste. We can allow egg producers in. They have low equipment needs and they don't take a lot of time in the kitchen to process those eggs. We have one licensed egg producer in Columbia County, and the egg shelf is often ransacked on Thursday and empty the rest of the week. So egg producers need to be licensed to sell their eggs in a retail space, even though we're operating on consignment. So this we'll be able to allow up to 5 egg producers access to that kitchen to license their eggs. And then this kitchen will also help us more efficiently host these special events like I've talked about that push specific and local ingredients, and dabble in some cafe ready to eat foods, which I hear really help with operating costs because they have a very high margin. If you just toast a bagel and put some butter on it, you can get a lot more money for that bagel. We're updating our point of sale system to Retail Edge from Square. Basically, I just made the free retail version of Square work for the last couple of years with like this secret code that I created. But in order to incorporate volunteers and more staff, we're going to need a more reliable point of sale system. And this will also allow us to create customer loyalty programs, potentially memberships. All of these things will hopefully increase our operating revenue, and we won't have to adjust that consignment rate and take it off of the producer's margins. We are expanding our retail space and and increasing our hours of operation 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, fingers crossed if all goes well this year. And that'll increase our producers and product diversity. We are maxed out right now. I can't bring on any more producers because we don't have enough shelf space or freezer space, specifically freezer space in the meat producers. Online ordering platform, we will be integrating for institution restaurant sales. I, again, really love the connections that happen in that physical retail space. And I'm not really leaning into the online retail ordering quite yet, maybe down the road. But right now, it seems like our community specifically wants to come in and look at that head of lettuce. So yeah, that's all that I got. Questions?
How many of you are super inspired by what you're seeing today? This is amazing, Jasmine.
Oh, I thought it was a little bit too long, so sorry if I went into too much nitty gritty. Let me get out of this and come back to stop share. There we go.
We want to hear about the blanket business license with the city.
Oh yeah, and I don't know if every city would do this, but they'll just allow the Clatskanie Farmer Collective to hold that business license, and all of our farmers market vendors and all the participating vendors in the food hub don't have to also hold a business license.
That's somewhat remarkable. I would not expect that to be a common
I'm not going to question it.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I wouldn't if I were you either, but really?
Yeah. Yeah, and Clatskanie is like known, there's cowboys out here that they don't follow the rules. So it could just be a little small town kind of handout. I wouldn't try that in Portland.
Or Medford. Abigail has a question about your week-to-week ordering and how that ordering works with schools rather than organizing contracts.
Oh, yes, that is really difficult. And that's why I'm really pushing for an online ordering option specifically just for our wholesale accounts, because right now basically we've minimized, so it's not like 76 vendors all have wholesale options. It's really like 5 of our main produce vendors. And so with those 5 main produce vendors that are producing at the scale that they have wholesale options, they send us a separate list that's available. We send that on to the school and the monastery, our 2 main, as well as the restaurants, but they're really inconsistent and not the bulk of it. But if they had a button to press, I bet they would a little bit more. So yeah, we send those lists on to them. They send us their orders back. We send the vendors those final wholesale orders, and those wind up just getting delivered like all the other orders on Thursday morning. And the monastery comes and picks up. We do delivery to the school district, which it's about a quarter mile up the hill from the food hub. So.
And there's another question from Christy about how you are doing wholesale institutions with paying farmers 80%.
Oh, we actually are doing even reduced. We only do a 10% consignment fee for those sales. Don't know why we decided to do that, because it's even, in some cases it's even more work because of the communication that's involved. But yeah, they're getting 90% of those. Yeah, Christy. Yeah, wow face. I don't know.
Kiara, that sounds like so much work and so many different programs you're running to meet all the needs. What's your staff volunteer structure look like to accomplish all that? Also, where are you getting all this energy, Jasmine? I had that question as you were doing your presentation.
I really don't. I'm only 31, I guess. I don't know. There's also that fountain of youth in Ashland. I was drinking the water downtown Ashland for a long time. Maybe that's where it came from. I don't know. I'm just, I have an interesting situation. I'll be very transparent about that, is in that I'm coming back. I'm living in my hometown. My bases are covered. I don't have a mortgage. I get to, farm, and I don't have a lot of overhead in my own personal life. So I was able to give a lot of my energy to this project and give back to my community. I think that every community does have those people, if you just find them and direct that energy in the right space. But that is how this project came to be so quickly and is being sustained, is me and Brandon, my husband's, ability to donate a lot of our time and energy towards this. But also, I know from growing up here that Clatskanie just has this like big body of volunteer resources. I mean, like, people just step up and do things in this tiny little town. We are like politically divided somewhat, but they can get behind local food. And I found that like really all walks of life are attracted to this work that we're doing. And that has helped push this forward. I mean, for example, when I started the food hub, we were looking at it, and with our own personal business, I was like, wait, Brandon, who's going to actually be in the food hub? like how is that? And somebody showed up, a local, who heard about the project. Her name was Candy, and she's on our team today. She's an older woman that just was in this next stage of her life, and she said, hey, I believe in this project. You don't have to pay me until you can, and let's do it. And so she showed up. She helped us write. She got a value-added producer grant back in her day for her mint business and started, the little chocolate Sealy mints in New Seasons. You might know of them. So she had lots of kitchen experience, standard operating procedures, knew all of that. So she did all of that work. And then the first week of opening the food hub, I looked at the sales and I was like, whoa, I can pay you, Candy. And so, some of this, as we grow, I'm able to actually compensate my staff fairly. I'm not getting compensated for the work that I'm doing, but it's also just a labor of love for many people in the community. And also they put in the work because they need access to local food. They save on driving time. They save on all of this that they didn't have before. So yeah, if that answers your question. Doesn't pencil out, but we love it.
Do you see a future, Jasmine, where it does pencil out enough? If you're, decide it's time for you not to be the center of making this happen, is there a future for this org without that?
Yeah, that is that's constantly like at the forefront. And I'm consulting with EcoTrust right now, getting some technical assistant funds to explore some of those options, get some it's beyond my wheelhouse. And so I'm drawing in people that have more experience to help me envision what that future could look like. And getting creative, like with those other sources of revenue. I got contacted by all of the farm stops on the East Coast and that whole network over there, which is really crazy. But a lot of them are for profit. And so taking like some of those practices on how they're, making their business structure work without grant funding, and learning about that, like cafe sales and memberships and, these kinds of business tactics, and incorporating them into our structure. Yeah, I see a future of it. But then I also see us growing and doing then even more things that will take longer to pencil out, like farm school stuff. And yeah, so many things to look forward to. Yeah, I see that, Christy. Precedent with the farmers that is unsustainable, as in like the consignment rates that you are talking about. Or
Yeah.
is that
Yeah. It's sorry, I was looking at the chat, getting distracted. Yeah, it's a concern that that I share with with the farmers market here of if you're paying them that well now, but in order to move forward, all of a sudden you can't pay them that well, or you have to subsidize with grants or whatever, just how that will play out. And then how it looks like if people look at your site, farmers in my area look at your site and then they look at my site and they're like, wait, how come you only pay us this much? It's just not that everything is pinned on you. It's just a general, as all of our food hubs develop in different directions, how we're all pressing that. So it's not just you.
Yes, definitely. I totally agree. And, I think some of what wasn't expressed is how strong, or I guess how much of a relationship I have with these farmers and how I'm constantly talking to them about all these things. And I'm very transparent about the ongoings of our organization and what I see for the future. And they know that these consignment rates aren't fixed and that this is a model that we are experimenting with. We're also, our producers are very young and micro, and like, in order for this to even get off the ground, that's what they needed. I don't think that we would have gotten the participation. And I can see how in other, like no, in the Rogue Valley, I mean, that like starting something like this there, you have farmers that are operating at a scale that like they can handle larger margins and a system that, yeah, that can be more competitive food hub to food hub. But I see what you're saying about just keeping a pulse on what each other are doing, what our rates are, and making it consistent for farmers across the board.
Yeah, we have a quote unquote farmers market in my county that breaks lots of rules and also chooses to not mark up product in most cases at all. And so it makes my prices look hyperinflated, and it, in my opinion, isn't doing the farmers any good, because then people think that the wholesale price is the price that they should be paying for food, and it isn't. And so anyway, it's a rich topic. So thanks for
well, thank you for that advice too, and maybe that will encourage me a little bit more to not be so fragile with the farmers' feelings of increasing their consignment rates. I might have missed this, but what is the grocery context in the area of big and small stores or other towns people travel to regularly? We have a Safeway in Clatskanie along Highway 30, and then about 15 miles from Clatskanie is Longview, Washington, which they have to pay sales tax in, but they have a Winco and Walmart and big box stores. So yeah, but we find that our main customers are the people that were traveling to food co-ops, like going to the Astoria food co-op or going to food co-ops in Portland, but instead coming to the Clatskanie food hub to get locally sourced food. So people from the end of Columbia County, like St. Helens, Scappoose, like 45 minutes away, or even people from Astoria, because Astoria has the Astoria Food Co-op that doesn't have a lot of local food, actually local, hyper local food in it. Or they have the North Coast Food Web, which is an online farmers market, and that has one day of, ordering window and then one day food pickup. So we get a lot of customers from like pretty good distance around Clatskanie, as well as Clatskanie locals. A lot of FD&P check use. Like there's a carpool from throughout Columbia County of senior citizens with their FD&P checks to make it to the Clatskanie Food Hub to spend them, because we're the only place outside of a farmer's market that they can spend that food assistance currency. So that's pretty cute.
That's pretty amazing, Jasmine, really.
It is amazing. Yeah, it started, one lady called me on her landline and she was like, how do I get to the Clatskanie Food Hub? And then I told her all about it and she's like, okay, young lady, I'm gonna call. I have 60 friends in my phone book and I'm gonna call every single one of them and tell them to get down at the Clatskanie Food Hub.
Hey, oops, sorry, baby. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is this the cortado? Thank you.
Kiara's phone is talking to us. I think she's doing deliveries right now.
Oh, great.
Other questions from folks about Clatskanie Farmer Collective? Jasmine, thank you so much for sharing that. It's the store is amazing looking. Like last time I talked to you, it was really still in construction. It's incredible how far you've come.
Thank you all. Thanks so much. Yeah, the internet isn't as strong down there. So, but if I ever do this again, I'll take my computer around, and hopefully the kitchen will be fully operational then, and our retail will be expanded.
Well, and you got the state RFSI funding, and you got some OCFSN funding, right? Food Hub funding. So it will be.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's really, really great. It's pretty inspiring to see what you've been able to accomplish in a relatively short period of time. And the amount of partnerships that you have built in this process is really commendable. Those relationships are clearly so powerful. And I know Erin said that she was able to get some funding. Erin Maidlow said that she was able to get some funding for her shared kitchen as well through economic development agencies. So don't neglect your economic development folks.
Yeah. They've got
Word to the wise.
the bucks.
Yeah. they've got the bucks. Sarah Cross wants to come out and see you.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. Thanks. Again, I've learned so much from all of you. So you're all a part of this in some shape or form.
That's awesome. All right. So our next thing, thank you so much, Jasmine. Our next thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to have a little shared kitchen rodeo conversation here, which Erin Maidlow is going to kick it off. And then we're going to talk about some new resources that we're putting together for shared kitchen folks. So Erin, if you want to kind of tell us what's going on in your world and ask to see if anybody has experienced something similar, and we'll go from there.
Okay, well, full disclosure, I'm at home and we had a really rough day and night yesterday, so I'm not turning my camera on, but we have our shared kitchen and it's been great. Lots of ups, lots of downs. The shared kitchen 101 workshop was really awesome to kind of commiserate and just hear about issues from everyone else. But we had to evict our first tenant. And while I was at the shared kitchen workshop, I was talking to Kim, who I think is on here. I saw her hop on about the Bohemia Food Hub and like just kind of, your awful tenants that you end up having. And like we accommodated this one tenant for a long time, but then they actually rented the space next door to our kitchen to have an office space and like would smoke pot in there and it would blow into our space. And like we do kids classes and family classes in our kitchen. And so it was blowing in there and she like blew up on one of my employees because the employee asked her about it and asked them to stop. And so that was bad. And then they would just, our ODA never inspects anything. They've never once inspected anyone in the kitchen. And so people take advantage of that and they started making lots of other products and like trying out other products, which is great. That's what the kitchen is for. But then they're like selling them through Patreon because they're not legal products. And they left our doors unlocked several times, like numerous times. I would come in and we have cameras so we can see who's leaving them unlocked. And then this last straw, they left a product out that she left it sitting out. It looked just like yeast. So I think she borrowed a jar from another tenant that was in my kitchen because it had the other tenant's label on the bottom of it. So I gave it to her because she's a baker. I thought it was yeast. She took it home with her and then bad tenant came in and was livid and like screaming. I was not in the office that day and she was screaming at my staff and the person in the kitchen. And like the one thing that I was told when we use the food corridor for scheduling. And when I got that, I was told that you couldn't see other people's names who were using the kitchen. And you can see everyone's name who's in the kitchen. And so she looked them up on Facebook and started messaging this completely unrelated baker saying that she stole her stuff and it was just bad. So we evicted them. But in that process, I realized like our lease agreement, our kitchen agreement is not set up for that. And we do not have there's nothing really strongly written in our agreement that pertains to like grounds for eviction other than like if you leave the door unlocked or if it's super vague and there's no like, if you are evicted, we keep your deposit. And so I would love if other folks have lease agreements, if you would share those, if you're willing to. And then just like, has anyone else experienced this? And what do you do? Because it's awful. And just the whole process was nutty. I know.
So is everybody
excited
excited
now, right?
about having shared kitchens? Like, is every single person thinking, I totally want to have shared kitchens? Erin, I think that, I mean, one answer is to get really clear in your lease agreement about, what your community rules are. And that, that includes things like borrowing people's, you know, small wares and whatnot. And then being really, really consistent about managing that from day one. Um, I know other organizations like over time have added in as part of their lease agreement their community rules, and our community rules are you don't touch people's stuff or whatever, the very specifics of what you expect from people, and then being really clear about you leave the door unlocked once and it's a warning. You leave the door unlocked twice, it's a written warning. You leave the door unlocked the third time and you're out of there. Like being really clear about the series of consequences for the various infractions that can happen. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned too. Like, you want this space to be a community space where everyone is welcome and you're incubating their small businesses, but then there's always going to be people that take advantage of that. And you do really like, I don't want to have to be this super strict, grumpy person, but you really have to run the space that is shared with everyone. And like, we have a lot of small wares that we have available to people to use. And I'm kind of thinking like in our actual kitchen use guidelines document, I think we actually got a lot of the info from Hummingbird. And I don't know if they're ever on any of these calls, but I would love for them to join. But it says in there like small wares you'll have to bring. And I'm kind of moving back towards that, like putting all of our small wares away, because a lot of that stuff turns up missing or broken, or it adds up when, we're a nonprofit and the kitchen brings in revenue for our educational programs. And so having it go missing or broken or whatever is a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a decision you can make too. I have a restaurant background, so I'm like, oh yeah, small wares. You'll go broke maintaining maintaining small wares. Like if you choose to have them, you have to have a budget for replacement, because then people expect that they will exist, and they will inevitably, some of them will walk away, often by accident. Some of them will get thrown away. I can't tell you how many spoons have been lost in a dumpster at some point or another because people don't pay attention. So, you just need to be really, really clear. I mean, you can do anything, but the answer is always you need to be really clear and really documented about what you're doing, what your expectations are for you as an organization, and what your expectations are for the people who are coming inside your kitchen. There's a lot going on in the
Does anyone
in the
have
chat.
lease agreements for their kitchen that you'd be willing to share? Like email me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Do you participate in the I think they call it the NIC, the food corridors shared kitchen
Yeah, the Facebook thing.
listserv? Have you asked folks there if they have that?
Maybe not.
It'd be worth seeing. I have not engaged with that community. I don't know how active and engaged it is, but it'd be worth checking it out and seeing if they have, if anybody there would be willing to share information.
Yeah, I can check. I don't know that I'm on their listserv, but I am in the Facebook group, and I can ask there too.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's a listserv or if it's a Facebook book group. It's called the NIC though.
Yep.
Which I know you can sign up for on their website. You can, follow a link to sign up for free.
I'm going to post in their Facebook group now. Yeah, that's a super helpful resource. But yeah, for sure, the boundaries, and like this particular person became our anchor tenant, and like they started asking if they could just be the primary person in the kitchen, and like how much would it cost if they were the only person using the kitchen. And I was like, that's not how we operate, and it costs you like 50 grand a year.
Yep. Well, and there's a risk, right? Like you're renting out your space, and now you've given, one person control over your finances. Really, if they go belly up, you haven't distributed the risk very much for your shared kitchen operation. So it kind of leaves you on the hook if it's a poor tenant or if their business just doesn't work out.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's been kind of a somewhat saving grace is that we have an attorney on retainer because he's on another board with me and offered to do it for free to, like, just say he's our organization's attorney. And so I copied him on everything so that there's documentation and they can't, like, weasel their way out, or I don't know. That was kind of pressure for them to, like, stop being I really don't love the term bully, but they totally are. And just pack up and get out. And they left the entire building, which was great.
There's an offer from Sandra to team up on writing a code of conduct. I think there's probably lots of examples out there of, these codes of conduct and community agreements. And then, all of these very specific lease agreement things. But I think anything you can get in writing, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that Kim Johnson on the call? There's a Kim on the call, and I'm wondering if it's Kim Johnson's because I know she's gone through some of this too.
Yeah, I'm on the call. I just the kids just fell asleep in the truck, so I can talk for a couple minutes. I was burning to talk. So yeah, I was just about to text Erin that I have that kitchen manual. We still haven't brought it all the way home. We hired a contractor whose father got sick for a while, so all these ways that we still haven't brought that all the way to completion. But I'm happy to share the template with you, Erin, and then also I can share the leases that we have. I have a handful of iterations of leases, and we're through our rural organizing initiative grant through Business Oregon. We have funding to pay an attorney to help us work all the way through the lease agreements for all of our different types of tenants, because now we have food truck tenants that use our kitchen for catering, which is a different kind of beast than a CPG product. And then also we have the retail storefront opening. So we just, it's like I'm just so sunk and buried in the legal minutia of keeping up with Bohemia's momentum. Like it's just like a steam train, right? And guys, it's been a lot. It's just been a lot. So I don't know, man. It's like about to say it really, like sometimes I'm like, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Like, and it's a nonprofit. I can tell you all the woes I've had incorporate. I'm sorry, I'm about to get emotional here, but it's just like it's been a while. And it's all the minutia of the nonprofit now, right? Because I didn't know what I was getting into with that. Board meetings and minutes and reportings, like it's its own full-time job times 5. And so like trying to just put the kitchen together in all of its bits, and then also like pretend I know how to build a nonprofit, right? Like, so, and then not chase grant funding constantly. So, we are in the good fortune that we had that extra retail storefront space. Good fortune, and wow, I wasn't planning on launching a retail storefront, but I really am excited about that move for Bohemia, that we can add this layer of earned income to the project, that and also create this storefront space for all of our makers to showcase their product, and also educate the community why we're using ancient grain stone ground flour from Texas. Like, what's that about? Like, our bakers have a place to showcase. Like, it's like it's the icing on the cake. It gives me a lot of hope if we can actually make it to the finish line. But that earned income, I think the ways that we can diversify our income streams is essential for these shared kitchen projects to really thrive, I would say. So Erin, let's hang out and do some work blocks together. I would love, it would be a win-win. I would love to bring all my stuff home too.
Yeah, I would be happy to come up and see you or come down here, whatever. We're super close by.
Well, I'm in Indiana now, not anywhere near you. So there's that too.
That's funny. That's where I'm from.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're on a Zoom call. I can't wait to talk to you. And thank you guys for allowing me to just like be vulnerable and transparent. And I love this group and I love the work we do to support each other. Jasmine, you kick ass. I'm really proud of you.
Thanks for sharing that, Kim.
Thanks for coming off mute, Kim. Sorry you're feeling underwater, under a landslide of paper and meeting notes and minutes and all of that. It's not a great feeling. So we're thinking about you.
Thank you, guys.
So Rose, you're totally excited about adding a shared kitchen to Klamath Grounds.
Yeah, right. No, I really appreciate hearing from all of you about the challenges because that's real, right? You don't want to go into it not understanding what you're getting into. Klamath Ground doesn't have plans for a kitchen ourselves, but we're working very closely. One of our board members is opening Watershed Row in Klamath Falls, and they have plans for a shared kitchen. So I'm definitely going to pass that along to Alex to know that there is this conversation happening here.
Absolutely. Well, Erin, we don't have a ton of answers for you other than get it in writing, get it in writing, get it in writing. But we do have some new things happening, which was, it was an idea that Shiny came up with, Shiny Flannery from Black Food Sovereignty Coalition came up with after the Shared Kitchen 101 workshop that we did in September, which was to start a listserv for the shared kitchen conversation. So we have started that, and Tanya's going to drop it into the chat for us. Anyone can join that. It's just a different group than the general Food Hub Network listserv. And its purpose is really to be a place where we can have some of these operational conversations about shared kitchens here in Oregon. Anyone can join it. The folks who have food hubs can join it. A lot of our food hubs have shared kitchens too. But we decided because shared kitchens can be really weedy and they're very now, as Erin is discovering, there's sort of this like urgent need to have a conversation with somebody who might know what you're talking about, that we decided to create a second group for this particular conversation set. The Food Hub Network meetings are the same. Its meetings are the same. As of now, it's not supported in any different ways, but it's just a forum for you to have this set of conversations so that we're not overwhelming the other listserv. Do we have other questions or comments?
I'm going to jump in and just say that it's also a great opportunity if you are subscribed to the Food Hub group. Well, you should fix it in both places, but if you subscribe to the Food Hub listserv and you've changed your emails since you've subscribed, that might be why you've had trouble getting invites. So subscribe to this one with your accurate email. That'll help. And then also we can fix whatever you're on in the Food Hub group. If you're subscribed to the Shared Kitchens listserv, you'll automatically get invitations to the Food Hub meetings. Hopefully that made some sense.
So we'll see if this becomes a lively listserv on its own.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any other topics, questions, or conversations we want to have while we have each other today?
Sydney, this is Carrie.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Speaking of calendars, I have us meeting on Christmas Eve day. Is that actually when we're meeting next?
No, and I think you're one of the ones that had an email, maybe had an email problem with the subscription.
Okay, I'll try the new link then.
Yeah, I added your Josephine County Farm Collective email. You were subscribed with your old email, with the Daily Blessings email.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different ways, and Tanya, like, stop me if I'm wrong, because it's like in the weeds of the tech magic of how things land on your calendar and how they change. If you subscribe to the meeting, to the Google group, and you say yes to the meeting invite that you get, then you will get updates if those meetings change. So Tanya and I calendar out the meetings for the whole year, and then every once in a while it's like, oh, our speaker can't come on that date, but they can come on another date, so we'll change the date. If you have said yes to the meeting invite, then you will get those updates. If you take the meeting, if you copy it over from OCFSN's calendar to your calendar, then you won't get an update. Tanya, did I say that right?
Yes, and I can see right now that JC Farm Collective info@gmail.com is on the invite list for the meeting on December 17th.
Okay.
So you should have gotten that invite. If I save it again and it'll just send out to everyone again, which might be annoying and confusing. So you do have that. And so maybe check your email. But yes,
Okay.
we're on the 17th from 1 to 2:30. I can put the link in the chat.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think it was you and Kiara that had some goofiness when we changed the last one, and I think you're both sorted. I hope you're both sorted. Other questions or topics or conversations we want to have? We have a few more minutes left if we want to continue our time together. Christy, it looks like you're coming
I
up here.
have a question. Is anybody doing any small business Saturday, Cyber Monday specials?
Dun, dun, dun.
Our farmers
Resounding
market's
silence.
doing an event, which actually that's a whole other. We might be taking on our farmers market as a program under Farm to School. But we're just doing like a Shop Small Saturday event where we're partnering the market with several downtown businesses because we just moved it to downtown, which is exciting and drama filled. And who knew food system stuff could be this exciting?
Christy,
are
you
you
a really
doing?
boring year next year, Erin. I want next year to be boring for you.
I really hope so too.
Are you doing anything for Shop Small, Christy?
Yeah, I did a discount code, and so it'll be in my newsletter tomorrow. Also, are people doing newsletters before or after the holiday? Mine usually comes out on Thursday. I'm debating whether it should come out tomorrow or Friday. And then it'll be on social media on Friday, I think.
Your turkeys look amazing, by the way. I saw them on Instagram. Those
Sold
turkeys
out.
are gorgeous.
Sold out. That one was cooked by my spouse with the skills. Not me.
Not you. Others. Caitlin, did you want to share about the meeting on the 17th? Caitlin Sefford.
Sure, yeah. So we are having a training on the 17th that's actually through the Food Hub staff community of practice group that some of you have joined for. We're opening up the training. We just wanted to get more folks in there. It's on good communication practices. And those are for any realm of communication. So internal in your organization or with producers, with customers. Our trainer is Lori of Six Rivers Dispute Resolution Center. So she'll be joining us and giving that presentation, and we'll spend most of the time trying to go through scenarios, hopefully, that if you're joining us, hopefully you can bring any anecdotes, or if there's something that you've been going through that you have questions about. Lori has offered up her, expertise to help work through some of those questions. So that email invite will come through the listserv that you're all on, with a survey link if you have an anonymous anecdote that you'd like us to discuss that you don't want to like share out the details or identify yourself. You can add it there. So I hope you can join us. I know it would make it a long day if you're also doing the Hub Club call, because it's about 30 minutes after this call on the 17th. But if you're available, we'd love to have you there.
And Sarah Cross, I think you asked if there was anything about this yet. We haven't sent anything out about it yet, but we'll make sure that it gets out with the notes that we send. And then also I'll send meeting reminders and all of that good stuff as well. Relatively new development to get to do this. Anything else while we're here and amongst our people? Online, Sandra. We pretty much do everything online because we're all over the state. You haven't hung out with us much yet, but Christy's out in Wallowa County. We've got Klamath County here. We've got lots of Southern Oregon here. We're in every corner of the coast.
Yeah, Sandra, can you tell us about your operation a little bit?
Sure. So 2 years ago, I started baking paleo breads and treats and selling them at the local farmers market. In all that time, I was looking for a commercial kitchen. There were none in the Salem area. There was one that's 30 minutes away, but it's not gluten-free, and that's what I needed. So this year I was at the point that I was like, I'm just going to build my own. And then a friend of mine had to step away from her business, and her kitchen was already gluten-free. So I just bought her gluten-free commercial kitchen. I do want to turn it into a shared gluten-free kitchen because there are none in this area between Eugene and Portland. There are no gluten-free shared kitchens. So yeah, so I'm just now learning all this stuff and trying to learn from everybody and joining these groups to learn stuff.
That's really cool. Well, welcome to our group.
Thank you.
You really land on the right day. We don't always talk
Yes.
about shared kitchens, so that was a lucky accident. All right, you guys. Anyone else have anything that they want to share while we're here?
I'll just put in a quick plug for the upcoming Know Your Cost to Grow winter workshop series, and I will send something out to the Google group, but I shared at a past meeting a little bit about that training, which is for diversified vegetable farmers. So if you're buying from farmers that need support figuring out their costs so that when you kind of negotiate price, they understand what they need to get, it's a good starting place for that. And it will all be virtual. So I'll send it out so that you can share it with your producers.
Do you have limitations on how many can sign up, and what kind of lead time are you going to give folks to push the word out?
I am not going to restrict the number of people that join. The first session is January 10th, and I'm hoping to get out do a big push of promotion next week. So I don't know that I'll close signups too far ahead, but I'll just say maybe a week before, but I don't even know that I need to close them. So it should be an easy thing to push out.
Cool. Thank you.
Tanya, this is Carrie again. I think we're going to provide an incentive to our producers to complete that training in exchange for a reduction of their services fees. Is there a way we could get like a certificate of completion before we do that?
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Yes, I've been thinking about that in terms of like, what does completion mean? And I'll just say that there's 2 stages. So you can tell me where you want it, but I'll tell you where I think they should do it, which is this year, I'm going to have them run through the whole process in this 6-week series. And at the end of it, come up with have an estimate for the crop that they're going to end up studying during the season. And so to me, that is the point of completion. Like, did they go through the process and were they able to come up with that estimate? Beyond that, then it's on them to do some in-season record keeping, which we know is always the hurdle. And I'm not gonna monitor if they, even though I really want them to do that piece because it's really critical, that's not the part that I will be kind of checking. So if you want the certificate from that end of the 6 weeks, do they know the process? Then I can give you that. If you want them also then to like get their own data, then that's sort of another add-on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'm hoping.
Carrie, I think that's really cool, by the
Yeah.
way, that you're incentivizing your farmers in improving their own operations. Nicely done.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What else while we're together? Keep feeling like we're at like dead air, and then somebody else comes up with something really interesting. Has anybody else got something in their back pocket that they want to talk about? Oh, now it's dead air. All right, you guys. Take a few minutes back for yourself, and we'll see you next month. Actually, we'll see you at the December meeting that Caitlin's putting together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See y'all next time.
Bye-bye.